Welcome to Coatings Talk. Get ready. We're going to be starting just in a few seconds, and this is going to be great. We're live in California. Hello, this is Heidi Ellsworth, and this is Coatings Talk from Coatings Coffee Shop. We're so excited to have you here live from the deck. And usually it's live from the roof, but no, this is live from the deck. We are here to see what is happening with some of the premier waterproofing and to save these beautiful decks here in California. And of course, we had to be with the experts in waterproofing, and that is our friends from Pli-Dek. Jan and Samantha, we're live. Hey everybody.
Happy to be here, Heidi.
This is pretty cool. Remember, even though we're live, we still want to hear your information. So please get in the chat, ask questions. Megan Ellsworth is behind the camera, and she's going to be watching for your questions and comments. And a few emojis, just send them on our way. Also, as always, this is being recorded and will be available to view on demand within 24 to 48 hours of today. So we also want to thank our friends at ICP, who is the mothership for Pli-Dek and APOC and all of great companies for being the sponsor of this live from the deck. So let's get started, my friends, with some introductions. So Jan, you want to start? Introduce yourself.
I have been with Pli-Dek for 46 and a half years now.
Wow.
I was the inventor of this product back in 1979. I'm aging myself here a little bit. So I knew that something in the industry wasn't right. The decking systems out here that were existing were failing everywhere. Nobody had a good decking system. So we developed something that is pretty much what everybody uses now in California. Every new deck has got a lathing-based system that we have, which looked into fire ratings, early protection, durability, and waterproofing. So we made something that everybody's been using now for a long, long time.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And if I haven't noted, we are live on a construction site, so you're going to hear some hammering, some sawing, a lot of different things, but that's what's so exciting about us being live on a construction site. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. Samantha, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Samantha Cloudis. I am your local Pli-Dek rep here in Southern California. I cover the Inland Empire, and I've been in the roofing industry for 9 years.
Excellent, excellent. I know, little loud noises now and then, but
right.
You know what? I am so excited to really get in and talk about Pli-Dek, but before we do that, I just want to talk a little bit about where we're at. We're in Newport Beach, California, and it is beautiful, absolutely beautiful, but there is a lot of moisture in the air. Every morning, a little bit of cloud cover, there's a lot of rain at different times. So I want to talk a little bit about really the importance of premier waterproofing on these decks and on these building envelopes overall along this coastal range. So Jan, how important is waterproofing, really good waterproofing here?
Well, whenever you, at the very end of a project, the worst thing you want to have happen is the project to leak and create mold and mildew, and everybody's upset. So it's very important to have a very durable decking system. We do, on new construction, this is a rehab as you guys can see, but on new construction, you're going to get early protection with our base coat. So our base coat is all UV stable. It's 6,000 PSI. You'll be able to put scaffolding on top of it, which you'll probably see throughout the day here. So it's a very, very durable, waterproof decking system in the base coat, which nobody had back in the day. So now everybody has it, so everybody's using that as an advantage to get this project dried in time and not worry about hurting the base coat. So we make it very, very durable, and we make it waterproof.
Yeah, and that is what mold, fire, this is what protects the building out here.
Well, back in the day, urethane systems over plywood were very popular. They sort of went away. In California, we have a lot of fires out here. Ends up that the urethane systems weren't really fire rated, so it wasn't really that popular anymore, now that all the architects and everybody else was really concerned about the fire rating. So this polymer-based product that we have, a polymer cement-based product, does pass a Class A, does pass a 1 hour, does pass a high fire zone rating from the state fire marshal. So it protects it from fire. So you have all these fires out here in California, the decks are holding up fine.
That's it, and that's what's so important as we're going through things. And Samantha, we're going to talk more about training towards the end of this coatings talk, but you really focus, you work with a lot of contractors, waterproofing contractors in
Correct.
this area. How important is, the job that they're doing to protect these buildings?
I mean, in high traffic areas, this is what you want to put down on your deck. Like Jan said, the last thing we want is leaks, because that's going to lead to more serious problems. And I think our waterproof decking will help clear all those notions of being afraid of having that happen.
You know,
Pli-Dek's the best out there right now.
I have to tell you, because Samantha, what you're saying is so true. I think as a normal, everyday person, someone walking up into these beautiful living spaces, they don't think about this, right? They don't think about this leak.
No,
but
not
you
at
do,
all.
and that's
We
the
do.
key.
Well, it's basically categorized as a waterproof roof coating that you can actually walk on. So you can put your tables and your chairs. I mean, it's like I said, it's 6,000 feet size. It's hard as almost a concrete sidewalk. So you can put your tables and chairs on. It's not going to damage this product. Excellent sealer that's on top of this that makes it easy to clean for people. If in case they got barbecue spills over some grease on the ground, you can mop it up with some kind of detergent. So it's very cleanable and it's UV stable. It's not going to start decomposing after 2 or 3 years where you see wear paths. It's just really a strong product with a lot of polymers in it.
That's what we need. So Samantha is going to join us again later on. She's actually going to help Megan Ellsworth behind the camera as we start showing you what this project looked like and the system overall. We're going to have a few more questions. So Samantha, we'll be bringing you back.
I'll be back.
Okay. Okay, so Jan, let's talk a little bit about the Pli-Dek system. Give us the history. You did a little bit in your introduction, but what were you doing at the time? What inspired you?
I was a roofer,
Okay.
and the guy that I was a young kid, and my roommate was a general contractor, and he was complaining every day that there was no such thing as a good decking system. They're all failing. They're all have to be redone in a year. So all the builders had felt the same way. So I found out that they needed a new system in this industry. So being a roofer, being knowledgeable about flashing and waterproofing, back in the day we didn't have computers, we didn't have anything else. But I did a lot of research, and we found out that we needed to put something out there that addressed the issues that everybody was having. I mean, the urethane systems, obviously the fire ratings were bad, but they were splitting at the plywood seams. They weren't really, even though they had elongation, they were glued to the ground, so when the plywood moved, it would split all the seams. So we came back with something that we addressed all the concerns, and the main concern was the fire rating.
Yeah.
Number one was all these plywood seams that would crack. So we put this experimental lathing down to give it strength. And we put fiberglass on top of that to give it flexibility so we don't have those cracks, which has been very, very successful doing that. Pli-Dek's been litigation-free in 46 years, so let's cross my fingers. That's good. For a waterproof
good, right?
decking, waterproof manufacturers is not going to court for failure. So we got a really, really good system that works. My job is to train these guys to make sure everybody does it according to specification, and everything's already done. They just have to learn the specification. So we do a lot of our time between Samantha and myself and a couple other reps to make sure everybody's doing it right. So I help write the specs. I do job walks. I make sure these jobs are being installed according to my spec, so we know if it's installed right, it's going to work. So that's my main thing now, is to make sure everybody understands how to put the product down. But this did solve the problems in this industry, and now, like Samantha said, we're flourishing across the United States. California was our home, but we're doing real well elsewhere as well.
That is great. So you started it, and 47 years ago, right?
Right.
So then the company grew and grew and grew, and you became, then what year did you become part of the ICP family?
We sold to ICP in 2019.
Okay.
So about 6 years ago. So they thought I was going to retire, but I love the people that I work out here so much. It's hard for me to leave my baby. So I'm going to stay here as the consultant for these guys for as long as I can, because this is what I created. I have a lot of friends in this industry with consultants and architects and general contractors and applicators.
Yeah.
It's like a second family to me, so it's hard for me to leave. So I'm going to hang out here as long as I can.
I think they like you. You wouldn't be here today if I think that all worked out.
Well, I feel like I'm making some positive move in somebody's life, where I'm making sure they're making making money, doing a good application, and no problems. So my job is to make sure nobody has problems. So
I love it.
I spend a lot of time doing that.
So when we're kind of talking about that Pli-Dek system, and you were talking about, and we're going to show this here in just a second, what kind of areas where does Pli-Dek really excel? Where should people be using this system?
Well, number one, everybody always thinks balconies, and balconies is our number one, but we're standing on a walkway, which is an entry walkway. We call it a landing or an entry walkway to people's units. So there's walkways, second-story walkways around buildings and third-story walkways. There's balconies, obviously, and there's also roof decks. So you have a project that you can open your door on the roof deck and you sit out there with a chair you're on top of the roof. Back in California, it's beautiful. You see the ocean, you see the beach, and people want to have these roof decks. So we do roof decks, walkways, and balconies for the main thing we do.
And anywhere really where you want that skid resistance, right?
Well,
where you're going to have traffic and walkable decks.
That's another point we haven't brought up yet, but yes, we want one of the characteristics that we had to have when we made a decking system was to make it non-skid.
Yeah.
We call it the static coefficient of friction ASTM test, but you want to make sure that people aren't walking on this deck and slipping as well. So good point. So we have testing done for that as well, wet and cold, for different textures. We can make the texture look like anything you want. The most standardized texture in the industry is we call it knockdown. Yeah. Something you would see on drywall texture. Well, they do it on the ground around pools. They do it on the decks too, because they know it's easily to maintain. It's non-skid, and it's less expensive than the fancy finishes. Because we can make the finishes look like flagstone or tile or wood or anything else, and some custom homes do that. But on these big giant projects that we're on today, and I know you can't see it right now from the camera, but this is like 850 units. This is one of the most prestigious buildings out here in California. But they use knockdown as a standard for their finish for all these major projects that are very, very expensive projects, because it's still an accepted finish for people to have for maintenance on it, and for the non-skid. That's what people use. And
you'll see that in just a minute. We're going to be showing you some of the ground as we go around here. So one last thing, I want to kind of go back and talk about the fire ratings. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning, but before we start showing the system, I want to talk about the importance of those fire ratings.
Well, if you've read the news over the last few years, the fires have been really, really bad. People are losing their lives. So it's not just a bad construction thing. It's detrimental to people's living there. So back in the day, it was always 1 hour in Class A that you had to have. Well, the state fire marshal came up with something about 6 years ago and says, we want a high fire zone rating as well. Yeah. Which is ASTM E84 test. So we wanted to make sure in a high fire zone that this thing passes as well. Very, very difficult test to pass. Pli-Dek is one of 2 people that have passed that. So when you have trees in the backyard or hillside in the backyard, that's called a high fire zone. Right. So now all of a sudden, we have to have that rating as well. But the 1 hour burns from the bottom side. The Class A, it burns from the top side. And that's, like if a tree's on fire, catches on fire, is this stuff combustible? It's not. So it passed all those tests. So we have Class A 1 hour, and we also have the high fire zone.
Oh, you do? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. Okay, so we want to go through and talk about the process, right? From nothing, your full system. So we're kind of in an area where we're starting to see some of the process. So why don't you go ahead, and I think we've got a little bit going on over here, but that's okay because we're going to be making our way there. So Jan, talk about how this goes on, and then let's start showing people on the site. Well,
what's important in any roofing or decking system is sheet metal flashing transitions are very, very critical. We have door pan flashing, we have wall to deck metal that you can see here, we have drip edge metal on the outside edge. If there's a post on the ground, we're gonna flash that post, that wood post. So it starts with flashing, and then our decking system. Our decking system, we treat the plywood seam. So the plywood seams will move, like when the building moves a little bit. It's called shearing, and they also expand and contract. So what we do differently than anybody else is when that plywood expands and contracts, we have a gap there. So we gap our plywood. The framers don't gap the plywood for us. So we end up cutting a seam there. We put paper down, which we'll see on the other area that we go to. And then we put the lathing on top. So the mud that we put down doesn't go back in that seam that we opened up. So we set expansion joints everywhere on our system underneath our base coat. So it allows for expansion and contraction. Yeah. So our lathing and is overlapped 3/4 of an inch. We put it wall to wall. We put a polymer cement down, which is 6,000 PSI, which is waterproof, durable as heck. You can get away with that and have that sit there for a year before you do the next coat. It's all UV stable. Then we come back after stucco, and you'll see what we're standing on is the fiberglass and resin coat. And then the next coat would be a skim coat they put down to cover that, and then a texture coat and a color seal. So this will get them through construction. You don't even need to put the fiberglass down, but this will be sitting here until such time as they get the stucco patch and everything else. Then they'll do the finish coat. So the fiberglass and resin is extremely flexible. It'll go up and down all day long. There's deflection ratings on that, but this will keep that from cracking as well. So our main job is to make sure the flashing is done right, and to make sure the deck system's not going to leak, and not going to crack, and not going to deteriorate. So Pli-Dek has got all those things taken care of.
This is an expansion joint right here, right?
This is unusual that you'll see a walkway that's not that big that's going to have an expansion joint, but that's what this is. So you'll have a movement joint here. This is covered by tape now, but there'll be some jobs that we have to come in with some expansion joints. Usually on big concrete decks that we have, we do big giant courtyards for underground parking underneath these units. So the courtyards are 10,000 square feet. Sometimes there'll be control joints in those courtyards. On plywood, it's not as common, but it does happen. So when the walkways have a bridge to a unit and they go on to another part of another building, they'll have control joints there. So this is what this is here.
That's perfect. Okay, do you want to show us a little bit here, or where do we want to head this way, Jan?
Well, on this job, this is a rehab job, obviously. It's not new construction, so you're seeing a lot of things going on here. So what the first thing they do is they want to reestablish the flashing, which is, like I said, is most important. So who knows what they did back in the day, but so they tear out the stucco. Now you have a 6-inch flashing coming up, which we cover with fiberglass and resin, because we warranty that as well. And then you're going to have to get new paper underneath. This has always been a pain to do, but you put paper underneath this, and you have a weep screen right here. So the paper's going to go down 2 inches off the ground as a weep screen. You'll see it on another part of our buildings here. So then they'll put the stucco down on the weep screen. Then our guys will put our finish coat underneath the weep screen. So this transition is the water supposedly soaks in the stucco, goes down this paper, goes over the flashing on top of our deck. We don't want water to get behind this. So this still needs paper to get underneath here and over this part.
Perfect.
So it needs a weep screen and new paper here.
And what stage is this deck at right now?
This has got the lathing and the base coat, and it's got the fiberglass and the resin. These guys are going to put a skim coat down of the polymer cement, which is the white top coat. Then they're going to texture it, then they're going to color seal it. So they have that to go yet. But this is as waterproof as you need right now.
That's right now.
As long as you want it.
Let's walk this way. Hang in there with us as we move along this live construction site. Might be a bit bumpy.
Well, now we can just stop here a little bit because you'll see how the paper's been.
Let's get Megan up here and you can show that exactly. Hello, everybody. We're still here. Hang in there. We are on a construction site. Okay. So show us what you have.
Megan could see what I just talked to you guys about, where the guys already came back and patched this in. Where they've got the paper underneath this paper. They got a new weep screen in here. The decking system will finish off right here, and the stucco's going to finish right here. Any water that soaks in this wall is going to go down this wall, over the paper, over the flashing, on top of the deck. That's the proper transition that they have to do. That's why all this stucco's torn out. Because the flashing that was here wasn't done right, so these guys are putting in new flashing, new paper, and it's always a pain to do that after the fact, but that's what these guys have to do on this job.
Wow, that is amazing. And then the corners here, this is all in process also, right?
Well, I'm not in this area. This is the stucco guy's responsibility.
Right.
My responsibility as a decking guy is to make sure this transition works. This is our transition. All this stuff up here, the stucco guy is going to wrap with bitch-a-thing and do all their work.
They're going to do the thing. Okay.
If we see something wrong, then we bring it to the contractor. Say, hey, this is going to leak up here. It's going to get behind my flashing. So we tell people. So we look at those things. But basically, they have a consultant here that says we make sure all these other building materials are working correctly. Yeah.
You protect the deck.
Yeah, because the decking guy, if this wall was to leak, it's going to get behind the flashing. Then they're going to call up the decking guy and say, hey, your deck's leaking. So you got to make sure. Sometimes when you're on these big jobs, that they're doing their job. These guys here are phenomenal. They're doing a great job. But some of the jobs that a guy's first time is doing something, if they don't do this wall right, water gets behind the paper, then we're in bad shape.
They're in bad shape.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to head over to the other side where we have some of our crew there and see what they've been doing over there. So come on through, gentlemen. Go ahead. Okay.
Want them to go over that? Under that.
Here we go.
So, this is your control joint. You can see better now.
Yeah,
but this is the finished product as well. We were talking about what does the finished product look like.
So going up here and tell us, okay, so tell us about this finished product. And let's get up here where you...
This is the typical knockdown that almost everybody uses in California. This is the most popular system out here. There's a sand surface, there's a smooth surface, which comes in the non-skid now. There's a hand texture, and then we get all the pattern finishes.
Right.
Like I said, the wood and the flagstone and the brick and the tile and all that can be done on top of this. So this is what we're gonna see on almost every job. Every big job you look at is gonna have this finish on it,
Okay.
which is non-skid and its texture looks nice.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah.
And then here we have another expansion joint.
This is another expansion joint for the buildings to move just separately from these walkways that are connected to different buildings, so that's why they allow this movement right here. So they'll put this in. It's not very common, but you'll see these in some projects.
Perfect. Now, do you want to show over here, or should we get over there? Is there anything else over here?
You guys doing something here?
Yep.
Yeah, we need to see this over here.
Okay.
Can you guys let us go down here? So
This is close down the bottom.
So we need to get the camera over here, guys. No, you're gonna, yeah, you guys, if you guys can mix over there, let's mix over here.
Hey, it's not that.
I know, we can come down here. So could you mix over here?
Okay.
So we could shoot it from this way, right?
Oh,
Yeah, if you want to mix.
Hey, everybody, hang on here. We are just going to show you, because this is live. It's actually happening. They're going to be putting it all down on the ground. So, stay tuned.
How we doing?
Okay, we're doing great.
Well, I gotta get one more bag.
So why don't you, yeah, as soon as we do that. Hi, everybody, hang in there. Megan, do we have any questions or comments?
Nope. Brooks says he's enjoying the tour.
Okay, good, I like it. We're live from the roof. So, talk to us about this transition and what's going on here. I'm gonna get back out of the way.
This is ideal. These guys helped us set this up a little bit to show you the stages of the application. This is the last thing that we talked about. If you look real close, there's actually seam paper here. This little piece of paper here, that's for the expansion and contraction. So we do put the paper down on all the plywood seams. Then the lathing goes down, it overlaps. They got an overlap in here, 1.5 inches, which is great. Wall-to-wall lathing. Flashing's been cleaned properly. And then the base coat goes down. This is the polymer, the coat, we call this a G80 grade base coat. This is what goes down in construction to waterproof the deck to give them durability. The second coat that goes down is fiberglass and resin. They skim this out, they shoot texture, and they paint it. So you got base coat, fiberglass resin coat, skim coat, texture coat, color seal. You see all the stages in this.
Excellent. Okay, they are mixing up right now. And what are they going to be applying?
They're going to put the base coat, the rest of the base coat from here to there.
Okay.
That'll set up in probably a couple hours, call it 2 or 3 hours, the base coat. They'll probably put the fiberglass tomorrow, but if they wanted to, they could put the fiberglass down today.
We have a question. How long does a project of this size usually take?
This project is like 100,000 square feet with 850 units. It's probably going to take 2 years for these guys to do, because all the other construction is being done. It's not just the decks. They're taking out doors and windows and stucco. So that's why this project's going to be longer. It's probably a 2-year project, maybe 2.5 years. But the decking system alone, if there's new construction, I'd probably tell you 4 or 5 months. But because of the reconstruction, it's going to take you a lot longer.
So we're gonna, any other questions, Megan? Nope. Nope, okay. They're gonna be coming here in just a minute, and they're going to,
Okay, so they're mixing what we call, this is a pool trowel from yesterday.
oh yeah.
They're mixing what we call the G80 gray base. It goes a gallon of G80 liquid with 1 bag of G80 gray base. You can add a little bit of water to it, we say a pint at the most. And then that's what's going to be troweled here. So
Okay.
it goes down about 1/4 of an inch thick. It could be thicker. If I needed, let's say it was sloping this way and I had a wall right here and I need a cricket around so I can divert the water, we could build that base coat up as high as I want.
Really?
So we
Okay.
could do slope from that spot to this spot, 3 inches down to 0 if I want.
Wow.
All in one application.
Okay.
So that's the luxury of this product. It's slopable. Most of the time the plywood slopes, but this product can slope in case the framer didn't get the slope in there.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna step back out of the way here so that they can put that on.
And this is a pool trowel. Yesterday we talked about them not having this pool trowel. This got flexibility here.
Yeah,
There's spines back here. There you go.
That one allowed.
You use this one.
It's better.
You like that? And then okay, no. You do what you do. Here you go. You show me how to do it.
Wait, and what's his name?
Acá.
Wait, what's his name?
Pablo.
Hello. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so
Narrate.
Yeah, narrate. As
All
we're
right,
going
so they
down
mixed
through
up the
here.
product. They got the base coat down. You gotta just dump the product out as much as you can without stepping on it. And then he's gonna bring it back and he's gonna use the trowel to put it to the top of the lathing. We don't pull it as tight as we can and we don't float it like concrete.
Okay, we're gonna have this shown.
Can you see? Hey,
Move over there. Just this
back
way a
here.
little bit. Yeah.
Come back here.
Perfect. Perfect. There you go. Okay.
So we can
And
see
you
him.
can see it's floating.
can you see him?
Yeah.
Can you see the application?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk about the strength of the base coat. How important that is.
It's super important. I mean, that's the base coat's where I'm getting my fire rating, is where I'm getting my durability. I got 6,000 psi, plus all these other systems that have the latexes and the epoxies and the urethanes are now fire rated.
Right.
So now we have a polymer cement that withstands all those fire ratings, those intense fire ratings that we have to get through. So this is the most important part. The flashing and lathing in the base coat is the most important part of this decking system.
Okay.
It's not going to leak. It transitions properly. So everything else, I don't want to say it's all cosmetic, but it's had a lot to do with just adding more flexibility, adding more non-skid. But what you're looking at right now is the guts of our system. Is the base coat has to be done right. So he's troweling it out. If he wanted to stop now and go to lunch,
Yeah.
and come back and pick up the rest of this, it all ties in perfect. It's not like like concrete, you have to pour it all at the same time.
Right.
This can start and stop anytime you want.
Yeah.
So if he just, whatever, the lunch truck here and the bell's going off and everyone's running down to get lunch, this guy can stop right now and go pick this up later.
So when you invented this, when you kind of started putting this system together, how did you find this base coat? How did that come together?
Well, like I told you, it was before computers were out there when
Yeah.
I was doing this stuff, and there wasn't even a fax machine back then, no cell phones. So you do a lot of research under, yellow pages and talking to chemists. And I got a hold of one of the biggest chemists in all the acrylic industry, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he suggested looking at polymer cements. So I just started putting stuff together by talking to a lot of chemists and stuff, and started putting stuff together, and it didn't work. I'd ask the chemist, well, I needed to do this, I needed to do that, and they said, well, you can make it not set up as fast, I can make it set up quicker, I can make it not crack when it sets up. So we did all those things as we talked to my chemist to make this thing work.
Yeah.
The first job you're doing, where like anything else, you're out there learning a little bit, but being that I was a roofer, I understood flashing transitions already.
Right.
So that was the important part that I got done. The base coat was something I learned better as you get, you do a lot more experience. But these guys now, sometimes these guys, I've been troweling for almost 47 years, sometimes these guys trowel better than me, so it pisses me off a little bit, but these guys all know what they're doing.
So, okay, and when you were talking about this yesterday with the troweling, there's certain things that you're listening for with the scrim, right? And then we just saw Paulo hammering something. What was that?
Well, you don't float it like concrete, so you want to have your trowel touch the lathing, because that's your screed coat. That's where you want, how thick you want it. If it goes thicker than that, it doesn't matter. It's costing the contractor money, but
Yeah.
we want it to be just above the lathing as the screed. There's a guy back in the day, I won't tell you his name because I told everybody I would. His name was Pli-Dek. I played football with him in college. He invented the hammer method. So he would trowel it out about 2 or 3 feet, then he'd get the hammer with the blade on one side, like a hatchet, and he'd hit it on the ground, and the cement would self-level.
Yeah.
So you don't have any trowel lines. So he got rid of all my trowel lines, so we never had to grind the deck anymore to make it smooth before we did the texture coat.
Okay, so he's not hammering nails, he's hammering it to self-level.
He's hammering the plywood so it jiggles the plywood and it makes the cement look like glass.
Yeah.
So I did 3 years. I didn't do it that way for 3 years. Back in 1982, 1983, I watched one of my superintendents as I was installing do the hammer method. And I go, oh my God, that's a great idea. So I was grinding every single deck, so I stopped grinding because of a guy named Pli-Dek. I love him. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Thank you, Lapelli.
Yeah, thank you, Lapelli.
That's great. So, Megan, can you still see? We're just finishing up here now. How long is this going to take to cure?
Well, this is a catalytic reaction when you start mixing the liquid and the powder together, but it also depends on heat. So
Yeah.
if this was 90-degree day you'd be walking on this in 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
If it's a day like right now, we're down by the beach in Southern California, so it's probably 75 degrees. It's in the shade, so it's probably going to take about an hour before you can walk on, hour and a half to walk on it.
Okay.
Fully cure, probably the next day. So by the next day. So
And then when would the next coat go on?
you can do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Base coat today, fiberglass and resin tomorrow.
And that's where we get that yellow finish that we saw over there.
Yeah, so the fiberglass and resin, the resin is a single component. That means you don't mix anything with it. It's just a bucket of acrylic. And that gets poured on the fiberglass, and the way that cures is water evaporation. There's no catalytic reaction taking place. It's like when you paint something. How does that cure? Well, the water evaporates.
Right, okay.
So the colored sealer that we're standing on and the fiberglass and resin are both water-based acrylics. So you have to have that dissipate for it to set up. So if it's a 40-degree day and you painted the colored sealer on and it's not setting up, it's because it's not evaporating. It's not so much a problem here in California, but it's a problem in Colorado, it's a problem in Utah, where it's really humid out there in Florida, so it's maybe more of a problem. But here in California, we have the luxury of not having to worry about this thing set up. It usually sets up pretty fast.
So let's talk a little bit about when you get to this top coat. This is all the spackled and brown, but this can be any color, right?
Yeah, so we have standard 12 colors in our color chart, but I have guys out there that are trying to match the trim on the fascia board. They're trying to match the tile, or trying to match the stucco. We can make any color you want. So what we did is we formulated all our colors to match every major color family. So if you could pick from a Sherwin-Williams or a Dunn Edwards or Benjamin Moore or Behr paints, we've matched all those already. So if somebody comes up and says, Jan, we need a special color that's not in your color chart, we want it to be, it has to match Sherwin-Williams color chart. Well, there's like 800 colors in their color fam.
Right.
I said, well, just tell me which one it is. I already have the formula for that.
Yeah.
So we don't charge them any extra, send them a color vial, because the color sealer comes in a white bucket with a color vial. So the color vial, you add it and you mix it together, you got your color. Same thing you would do maybe at Home Depot or something.
Yeah.
So what we do is we just tell the guys, don't tell me that you want me to match a color like the Target sign that's red.
Yeah.
I don't know what color that is. Pick from a color fan. We have all the formulas made already, and we'll give you that color jar that you can mix in.
I love it. I love it. So really any color you want.
Any color of the rainbow.
Any color of the rainbow.
It's unlimited.
Unlimited. That is cool. Fast.
Yeah. In new construction, this goes really fast. There's not all these other things that you're going to tear off
Thank you.
stucco.
Everything. Now, these gentlemen are with Systems Waterproofing, right?
Yes, Systems Waterproofing is one of my best applicators in Southern California. They do a lot of big projects for us. Owner is a fantastic guy named Eric Paulson. Great company. So I trained these guys years ago.
Yeah.
I don't have to watch them install, because I know I got a guy like Pedro who runs the superintendent here. They know what they're doing. So you always hold people's hand until such time as they can ride the bike on their own. You know,
Right.
They don't need training wheels anymore. These guys are riding the bike on their own. They've been doing it for a long time.
So we want to say a very special thank you to Systems Waterproofing, because we've come in here, totally messed up their schedule, everything else, but they've been so great and really have been able to show us what it is. We wanted you to see it live on the deck. So we're going to move back out a little bit. Have we shown everything here?
Yeah, I think that's about all we can do is right here, is show them what we've got.
Okay.
But-
so as Megan and Samantha help us get back out, here we go. Thank you. This is Pedro. Thank you so much. Yes, we appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy. So you got your TV.
Just a little bit more. Okay, so, and do you gentlemen need to get by us? Okay, thank you. Thank you, gracias. Okay. Are you good? Can we stand right here for a minute? Okay, thank you. Okay, we have some more questions for Jan. He's not going to get off that easy.
I like questions.
We have a lot of good questions. So, okay. When you are looking at this finished, I guess we've kind of talked about that, but let's just talk about this is going to all be done. We have the nice brown that we're seeing down here with the thing. What are some of the things that building owners should be looking for as in performance from this type? I mean, is it easy to clean? How does that work?
So, great question. Back in the day, we were compared some other companies try to compare themselves to Pli-Dek. Says, oh, we got a really good sealer that's better or as good as Pli-Dek, which upset me. So I went to my chemist again and said, okay, wait a minute. What do I got to do to my sealer? I want the best product.
Yeah.
So we dissected our product and we dissected their product. And I said, he goes, well, they're about the same. And he goes, what do you want? I go, well, what do I do to make it stronger? He goes, well, you can add more polymer. I go, can I put like 30% more? He goes, yeah, it'll be a little bit more expensive, but it'll be a better product.
Yeah.
I go, so that's going to be stronger, easier to clean because it's a semi-gloss. So I want that to start with. So I made it that way. I go, well, I want to have something that's called hide. And hide is, you can paint it one time.
Oh.
So if you paint it one time, you have all these streaks in there, and then guys have to paint it twice. You'll see it when you paint drywall. I made this product so I thickened it up. I put more titanium dioxide in it, which made it way stronger and made it, I could do it in one coat. Now these guys out here, they put a coat down, then there's a lot of construction traffic. They're coming back to put another coat down. So obviously you can put 2 coats down, but most times if you do on new construction, you do it one time.
Yeah.
So it saves the contractor money and not just material, but also labor to do that. So this is an excellent sealer. I'm biased, but it's the best sealer in the market by far because I know I've dissected some people and I know what I got.
You know it, yeah.
So really, really good product. Yeah. So this is important to make it easy to clean.
Okay.
So
okay, let's talk about that maintenance for the building owner. How long does this last? And is there maintenance required? Is there retouch? How does that work?
All right. Thank you for this question because I'll tell you what. The problem I did is this product is so good that we tell everybody on new construction, let's look at it in 3 years, and I'll do a free inspection, or one of my girls or one of my guys will do a free inspection, and we'll look at it, and everything usually looks great. Nothing's ever done in 3 years. We say in 5 years you're supposed to repaint the deck.
Okay.
Not because it's deteriorating, just because we want to make sure, that when they're using their deck as a trash can or their dog's using it as a bathroom, we like to reseal that. So, out of all the jobs we do, 5% reseal after 5 years.
Okay.
We give them a 10-year warranty, but you've got to reseal in 5. Well, the deck system lasts. We made it too good, so it lasts in 5 years. They're walking out and saying, there's nothing wrong with the deck. Why do I want to reseal it? I'm on the job and says, well, you don't have to. It's holding up fantastic. But they're supposed to reseal in 5 years. Now, this company that we're doing work for has me on multiple projects all throughout California, even Southern and Northern California. And they're looking at me saying, after 10 years, they're saying, Jan, if we reseal it,